بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Now, again, the next option you have the IOS L images. So mostly, I don't really use much of these IOL images, even though they offer you. Now, IOL images are the testing environment images inside the Cisco. This is specific to Cisco images where you will be running the same L2 or L3 images, which will be simulating the routers as well as the switches. But again, these are not the official images what from Cisco for testing environment or the virtual environment. Okay, so they need some kind of licensing as well. Not exactly licensing. There is a license file which you also need to have in order for this to work. There are specific steps to do the same thing here also. If you are trying to do this IOL images, there is a way where you need to go to the preferences. And here there's an option called IOU. IOU means iOS over Linux or Unix. You can say like IOU or iOS. So here we simply upload this. And this also requires a GNS3 VM. You can upload from here. And you can select whether it is an L2 or L3 image. Let's say if it is an L2 image, IOL L2, some name you can give, and you need to browse and select the image. Basically, the browsing and selecting the images, if you already have, you can get it. Already I have them in the download folder, and these again images you can find in the same Google Drive. If you go back to the IOL images, L2 and L3, you can use any of these L2 and L3 images. There is also a license file you require to add. Again, I'll come back to that. Now, what I have to do, I need to set up this image. L2 image I'll be using. So typically, I'm going to use any of this L2 image. Let's say I'm using this 15.2. And it is going to upload the same way. Again, the process is different. But again, at the back end, you need to have the GNS3 VM running, which is exactly used to run all these images. Okay. And the same way, you have to upload the L2 image also. So let's wait for this to upload. Now, there's no much difference between the iOS V or IOL. They both are similar, except the ports. So if you compare these two, I don't see any difference much, except, in iOS V, you will have the gig ports, which is like a real switch. And here in IOL or IOU, you generally see the Ethernet ports only. There's no gig ports. So basically you have E0 by 0, E0 by 1, E0 by 2, E0 by 3, and then E1 by 1, E1 by 2. The sequence of the ports is a difference. In terms of commands, most of the commands are similar and works the same way. Okay, but technically, you can find an alternative. In terms of alternative, it's like a minimum. If you compare with iOS V, compared to the iOS V and IOL uses a little bit lesser processing capabilities. So if you have a less CPU resources, then probably you can have an alternative to the iOS V can be this one. But again, technically, there's no much difference in terms of the configurations or the verifications, except the ports and the CPU performance. That's the only thing what I have observed between these two things. Now, same way you have to do this one as well. Now, once you do this, the next step will be you just click on finish. And once you finish, that's apply. And there's one more way. The same way, if you are doing the same thing for the L3 also the same way, we have to go to the IOL over the Unix. So we click on this new, and then we need to select the new image, and the new image will be an L3 image. Probably I'm going to say L3 router, some name, and then I need to select the image and then select any of the L3 image and click on upload. Again, it will start uploading the same way. Now, uploading the images, that's something we have to do first. And you can also find so once it uploads, so we'll wait for this because there's one more thing you have to do is you have to download this option. So let me just meantime what I'll do is I'll quickly go back to my so this is the IOU source file which you have to download. So let me copy this link. I need this on the server here, or I can copy the code from here as well. So I need to open up this file. Now here you will see there is a code. This is a license code which you need to paste inside the option. So I'll just copy this. Let me download this and we'll copy this one. This is again the code. I'll just copy this. And what I'll be doing is I need this code back on my server, because to run this IOL images, you must be having that license. So let's wait for this to come up. Now here we need to go back to my GNS3. Now it's still uploading the image. So once it finishes the upload, I'm going to add the license. So because unless and until you don't add that license information, these images are not going to work. So this is like from the Cisco. Cisco uses these images for internal testing, especially for internal testing purpose for the CCI lab exam. They use these images because of the less CPU resources. But since the iWays V has been introduced, so iWays V is again another alternative afterwards. But before iWays V was introduced, we used to use these images for them. Same. Now here we have to paste that license code. Here you can see the option here, and then click on upload, or you can upload the file simply. Now once you do this, you will be able to see this L3 router. We can start this one, and we should be able to see the console. Everything is good. So this is much faster compared to the iWays V. That is the advantage we can get here. And similar way, you can see the iWays L2 here. This is my switch, where I can simply start and quickly console. This is my switch. So in terms of booting, you can see this is much faster compared to this one. Also uses lesser CPU resources. And we can simply change the host name as a router 1. And you can see the interfaces. The interfaces will not be like Gig Ethernet or Fast Ethernet. It will be either Ethernet or serials. Those are the way. And but the command, in terms of commands, it remains the same, no difference. The same thing here as well. If you're taking this as a switch, the same thing here. If you say the interfaces, you will see the Ethernet interfaces. You don't see the membering. But again, if you see the commands and everything, it remains the same. So there's no much difference between in terms of commands between the iWays V or the iWays V. In terms of the iWays V or the IOL, the only difference you will see is the CPU performance. In the iWays V, CPU performance much faster. And the other thing is you'll see the interfaces will be Ethernet. So, but if you want to go with a traditional exact similar router kind of a feeling, then you will be preferring the iWays V, where you're not bothered about the resources, the CPU consumption or other things. In that scenarios, you probably go with. Now that's something you need to know. So basically, whenever any network engineer and anyone, they start with routers and switches. Routers and switches are the basic devices which will set up your LAN, which will set up your WAN, and this becomes the basic part of any simulation lab. In the future, on the top of it, you can add any other devices like firewalls. The process is almost similar, but again, as at the CCNP enterprise level, if you are doing or a I enterprise, we don't use this. But as you move on with any of the courses, you will automatically find the details where you will see how to do. But once you move from CCNA to CCNP, you need to know these router switches, and these are the different options what you have. And this is how you can do with the GNS3 option here.